You wake up, head splitting, skin on fire. You think it's just a cold. Then your hand finds something under your arm. Round, hot, the size of an egg. You've seen this on other people. You know exactly how each of them ended. That lump has a name. Bubo, from the Greek word for groin. In 3 days, it will be the size of an apple. In 5, it turns black. The pain by day 2 makes grown men scream. And the smell comes next. It started in the east. Mongol armies, a flea, a rat in a cargo hold. October 1347, Messina, Sicily. The harbour master ordered the ships out. Too late. Nobody warned the rats. From Sicily to Marseille to your city. That is the whole story. You are trying to remember everyone you touched yesterday. The baker, your neighbor, your daughter, twice when she woke frightened in the night. By the time you feel the lump, you've been spreading this for days. Nobody told you that part. Your town has had plague before. 15 years ago, a third of the street died. The survivors believed they were immune. Most were wrong about that. The ones who fled, they didn't escape it. They carried it somewhere new. That's how it crossed Europe. The doctor arrives. He reaches into his bag and produces a live chicken. The Vickery method. Pluck the rear, press it against the bubo, hold until the chicken dies. He brought 6 chickens. The first one is already sick. This is apparently encouraging. The second treatment is simpler. A knife, heated until the blade glows red. The bubo must be lanced, drained. The doctor explains this without flinching. You want to say something. You can't find the words. The knife is already moving. Then the potion. Arsenic or mercury or crushed emerald powder, depending on how much coin you have. Those who can't afford emeralds drink their own urine. For purity, the doctor says. He does not mention the ones who didn't survive the cure. Your wife has moved the children to the far room. She slides food under the door without looking in. Giovanni Boccaccio recorded this. Fathers abandoned children. Brothers left brothers. The church called it sin. Everyone doing it called it survival. The children are very quiet. Nobody warns you about the smell. Not the history books, not the doctors. By day 3, your body produces it, the specific sweetness of tissue beginning to die. You can smell yourself. Your neighbors can smell you through the door. The whole street knows. Day 4. Your fingers look different. The tips, a color that fingers should not be. Gangrene. The blood supply cuts off and the tissue begins to die from the outside inward. In 1348, they had a word for it. They called it the Black Death. Now you understand why. Your neighbor died this morning. You know because you heard it stop, the coughing, the movement. The body will stay there for 3 days. No one comes. Collectors are behind by 40 houses. You count the doors between his and yours. There are 2. You send for the priest. He does not come. In Florence, Boccaccio wrote that clergy abandoned their parishes entirely. Some fled. Some locked their doors and prayed alone. The ones who stayed caught it within a week. The church lost a third of its priests in 1 year. Day 5. 40 degrees of fever. You stop making sense to yourself. Medieval accounts describe it consistently, a figure at the bedside, calm, well-dressed, waiting. Historians call it delirium. The people who experienced it had a different name for the visitor. They were usually right. Then it bursts. The pain is the worst thing you have ever felt, and the first real sign you might survive. Rupture means drainage. Drainage means a chance. Survivors almost always had this moment. From the next room, your daughter coughs. Once, then again, then again. By morning, the house is empty. They left before dawn. You heard the door. This is recorded. Florence, 1348. Entire households abandoned their sick overnight. The philosopher Petrarch lost his closest friend to plague in one day. He wrote, "We are alone. We must walk alone." The cart comes at dusk. Two men. They don't knock. They open the door and look in. You are alive. This creates a small problem. Venice solved it with boats. Poveglia Island, the sick loaded alongside the dead. Nobody explained the difference. The island didn't require one. Poveglia, Venice's quarantine island. 500 people arrived there every day at peak plague. They dug pits and filled them. Sick on top of dead, dead on top of sick. The island is still there. Tourists are not allowed. The soil is 50% human ash. Outside your window, they are whipping themselves. The flagellants. 33 days of public self-punishment, marching city to city across Europe. 33 days because that was the age of Christ. They believed God sent the plague. They believed this would make him stop. It didn't. Someone needed to be blamed. In Strasbourg, February 1349, they chose the Jewish community. 2,000 people. Valentine's Day. They were burned. The plague continued after. This surprised the people of Strasbourg. They had been quite confident in their diagnosis. Day 7. The bubo drained, but the bacteria reached your blood 3 days ago. Septicemia. The infection is systemic now. Your organs are making decisions without consulting you. Yersinia pestis reproduces inside your own immune cells, kills them, and uses their remains to hide from the next ones. 60% of plague victims died within a week. No treatment, no variable. You are in the 60%. The people who survived, nobody fully understood why then. Nobody fully understands why now. Yersinia pestis is still classified as a bioterrorism agent. It has not retired. The grave diggers had a rule. 2.5 arm lengths deep, the minimum to keep the smell below ground. In London, they stopped enforcing it by the 2nd month. They ran out of grave diggers. The graves got shallower. The city noticed. By 1353, 60% of Europe was dead. 60%. London went from 100,000 people to 20,000. Some villages simply stopped existing. Pope Clement VI commissioned a count. 23,840,000 dead in Christian Europe alone. That was the conservative estimate. Here is what the bacteria actually did. Yersinia pestis carries one gene, PLA, that lets it survive the immune system. It evolved that gene across 3 separate pandemics over 700 years. It became better at killing slowly. Slow death travels further. The bacteria understood something about logistics that we didn't. The plague ended feudalism. Not deliberately, just arithmetic. 60% of the labor force was dead. The survivors could name their price. Lords who had controlled peasants for 3 centuries found themselves negotiating. History has a dark sense of humor. The bacteria did more for workers' rights than any revolution. Quarantine was invented here. Dubrovnik, 1377. 30 days of isolation, mandatory, enforced. They called it Trentino. When they extended it to 40 days, it became Quarantino. Violating it was punishable by imprisonment, in the same building as the sick. Compliance improved immediately. The plague came back. 1361, 1369, 1374. Every decade or so for the next 300 years. Each time the survivors thought it was over. It took until 1666, the Great Fire of London, to finally break the cycle in England. The fire killed the rats. There are 7 cases of bubonic plague in the United States this year. Treatable now. Antibiotics. Caught early. Yersinia pestis still lives in flea populations across the American Southwest. It never left. It never goes anywhere. It adapted to survive 3 pandemics. It is extremely good at waiting. You made it. Most people in this story didn't. There are thousands more stories like this one. Stranger, darker, more important than you were taught. If you want to keep finding them, subscribe. Not because we asked, because the next one is already waiting.